For who could ever learn to love a beast?
I'm Steph.
And I'm Ange.
We're
Nerdazons.
This fortnight is my choice, and I'm choosing the 1991 cartoon Beauty and the Beast versus the 2017 live action. I chose this because this is one of my favorite Disney movies, this and Aladdin. And then I also thought, who else is like the beauty queen? Disney princess, Amber. So I thought Amber would be on this one.
Hi.
So we've got Amber helping us.
Didn't know Amber was also in our Mulan episode, so you can also listen to that.
Yes, you can.
The resident Disney nerd.
Pretty much. I can't wait to hear what you think of these. But we'll do the synopsis. So, 1991, an arrogant young prince and his castle servants fall under a spell of a wicked enchantress who turns him into the hideous beast until he learns to love and be loved in return. The spirited, headstrong village girl, Belle, enters the beast castle after he imprisons her father, Maurice. With the help of his enchanted servants, including the Monterey, Mrs. Potts, Belle begins to draw the cold-hearted beast out of his isolation. Then we'll do the 2017. Belle, a bright, beautiful and independent young woman, is taken prisoner by a beast in his castle. Despite her fears, she befriends the castle's enchanted staff and learns to look beyond the beast's hideous exterior, allowing her to recognize the kind heart and soul of the true prince that hides inside. So we'll start with the story. The 2017 was, I think, nearly 40 minutes longer than the original. To me, the original is just perfect. I think it gets to the point nicely. I think the characters, and yes, it focuses on Belle and the Beast, but it also, I like the addition of the side characters. You didn't have so much of a backstory that they took up too much time.
I don't know, I liked that element of it. I actually think both stories are really, really good. For a kid, the cartoon is good because, you know, sometimes they can't comprehend some of the bigger story points. But I actually think for the movie, in my opinion, this is probably the best live action that they've done. And I don't think they can recreate a better live action, like, cartoon.
I 100% agree. Hands down the best live action that I have seen, and I can't imagine them getting it this right ever again because it's just so right. There was 40 minutes of extra stuff, and I feel like everything they added just added more heart and more beauty and more depth to the story and made me love it even more than I did before. And this, I'm the same as you, Steph. This has always been my favorite. Like, I was 5 years old. Like, this was the movie for me, for my childhood. And it's always stuck with me as my favorite. Plus, she was the only brunette princess. So she was the only princess I could really, like, relate to on that. She actually kind of looked like me with brown hair.
And she loved to read.
Way.
I couldn't relate on the reading part.
And reading, she was different to the other princesses. And she was just, you know, Beauty and the Beast was it. And I had such reservations about the live action, and I was just blown away.
Yeah, I think with this, one of the biggest things I have to say, I know this is not on the story, but for once they actually listen to the fans. And, you know, there's so many new things coming out where they just don't listen to the fans of what they know will work well, and they go with something completely different. But for, like, I think quite a few years, they were always saying Emma Watson should have played Belle, and they held out and they got her. And I think that's something that also worked really well. We should talk about that in the cast, but I kind of jumped the gun there. But back on the story, I actually think it's really good. I was breaking it down, and the one thing I wanted to talk about was the curse. So the curse is very different between both of them, but I think it worked well for the live action audience, and I really liked the element that instead of it being a time frame, so in the original he had until his 21st birthday, which as a kid, the math never added up for me, because I'm like, that means he was 10, but he didn't look 10 when they were like put in the curse, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
I like in the live action that every time the petal fell, parts of the castle crumbled and they all started to turn more like the inanimate objects that they are. And I thought that was a really good element to the curse.
And they gave the Enchantress a little bit more screen time in this one.
Yeah.
However, I'm going to disagree on the live action. I just feel like it was just flat, and it was almost word for word, and I just didn't feel as magic inside as I did with the cartoon.
I don't know. I completely disagree. I think Amber summed it up right. The bits that they added into the live action added so much more depth to the story, and especially with Belle and Beast, because you didn't know much about their backgrounds and like their past. So you found out about her mum, but then you also found out...
I did like that addition about her mum.
And I liked it about the Beast as well, because in the original, you don't really find anything that, like, as an adult watching it, as a kid it's a bit different, but as an adult watching it, you don't really truly find anything that they connect over. Whereas in the new one, you find that they both lost their mums and they connected over that. They both had a love for reading, which I really liked. It wasn't just her reading to him.
They made him more intelligent. They made him match her intelligence in the new live action movie. She's a very smart person. She's bright. She's bookish. She wants to know about the world. They made him match her and her equal on that intellectual level.
Yeah.
You see them bond. You see her start to feel for him. But what I really love that they do the most in this movie, the whole curse, the Beast needs to learn how to love. In the original cartoon, I love the cartoon. I have no faults with it. I think it's fantastic. I didn't actually see this as a fault until I saw the live action. You don't see him learn to love. She sort of just shows up. She's going to break the curse.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's saying, oh, I've got to make her love me. How do I make her love me? But you don't see why he loves her. Like, she's just there.
Yeah.
Whereas in the new one, you see things like the library scene. I love that they changed that. So in the original, he says, I want to do something nice for her. What can I do? And Lumiere says, oh, I've got an idea. The library. Like, because they knew she loved the books.
Yeah.
In the live action, he takes her to the library because they're having an argument about, there's so many better things to read. He's being really pompous and, there's better things to read than Shakespeare. Why don't you start in here? And when he sees how overwhelmed she is and how he's like, oh, well, if you like it, it's yours. And he sees how that moves her, and it shocks him that it makes him feel good to do something for someone else. Like, that's surprising to him because he's never done that before. I love that you get to see that development in his character that I think that was kind of missed in the original.
Yeah, and I think why it worked is because most of the general audience who watched this would have grown up with the film and would be at that adult stage watching it, and it just catered to the audience. And the fact that they could read that the general audience who are going to watch it are people who grew up with it, it helped evolve it for them to relive it as an adult, and I think that it worked really well. The story, there were some things that changed that weren't as good in the story, which I'll admit, for example, Mr. Cogsworth and Mrs. Potts and all that, they're not as cartoonish as they were in the original. They were like a comic relief, and you can't really replicate that, I don't think, in a live action, but I feel like the rest of the story was fine, that you didn't really notice it as much.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say about the characters. The things that got me was my attachment to Angela Lansbury's voice, and hearing Emma Thompson's voice was, for the first 3 or 4 times I watched it, kind of jarring a little bit.
We watched this together, I think. I think we saw this together. You and me, Amber.
I saw it 9 times at the cinemas. I was honestly, I was obsessed.
I went to Dendy at Circular Quay before they shut that one down.
Oh.
And it was so nice in there. And I just feel like the atmosphere of going into that cinema just added to the film. It was pretty good. I remember that.
Yes, I remember we saw it together, and then we just looked at each other and just went, oh, this is not Mrs. Potts. And, like, I was so furious at the end of the movie just going, that's not Mrs. Potts. No. Sounds nothing like her. The look of her is not cute, you know. It's just like it looks like an old lady. I don't like Mrs. Potts.
I didn't mind. When I see the live action one, there was no one that I truly really liked, and there was no one that I truly really hated. I think it was a pretty average performance. That it didn't make me hate the film because of it. That's just how I perceived it. But Beauty and the Beast isn't my favorite Disney, so, you know, maybe it's because it's not my favorite. I didn't have the attachment to the characters, but I didn't see the big problem with them. Like, I could see they weren't as energetic as they were in the cartoon, but again, you can do so much more with animation than you can with films.
I just felt like all of the characters' voices, you know, they didn't have that oomph in them, and I just felt like they were all quite flat except for Mr. Cogsworth by Ian McKellar, because, oh my God, I love him.
I strongly disagree when it comes to Gaston and LeFou, because live action Gaston, Luke Evans, and Josh Gad as LeFou, they were fantastic.
They were.
In my opinion, they were perfectly cast.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I can't think of anyone that could have played those two roles better. I think they were just...
I feel like they actually looked like the cartoon characters.
They really did.
They really did well with that. Yes. And same with Emma Thompson. Like, I feel like they were the top three perfectly cast. Yes. I reckon it would have been awesome if they had was the voice of Mr. Cogsworth in the original... Was that Mouse Hunt, the guy from Mouse Hunt?
Yes, it was.
It would have been, like, he's still around. It would have been awesome if they got the voice, you know? I think it was
I had to say I'm not a fan of the French accent from
Ewan
McGregor. Yeah. I'm just not.
I agree. I couldn't get to that as well. He was probably my least favourite cast, I have to say.
Yeah. I also wanted to have a little bit of a talk about the songs when we get a chance, but I won't talk now. I'll go back to cast.
Yeah, I think even though the dad is also different, his story is different. I actually really liked how he was in the new one. He wasn't, you know, the crazy psychotic person. He just looked like a broken-hearted man, and it really pulled at my heartstrings. And I kind of liked that element of him because it helps you tie Belle's story into it, wanting to know about her mum, and he's just so heartbroken he can't even bring himself to talk about the love of his life, and I really liked that.
What are your thoughts on the dad being the inventor versus Belle being the inventor?
I like it.
Yeah?
I think it works in both. I actually think so when the original Beauty and the Beast was done, her way of, like, showing girls that she, you know, is forward-thinking was to be the reader. Like, it was still a very different way we were brought up. And then, like, now we're already in a modern society, so they kind of had to morph that a little bit for the audience. Like, we already do, like, read and we all go to school and things like that, so we're already a bit different now. And I think by changing that element slightly, it was good to show that, you know, she is still that forward-thinking person, but helping it relate to a modern audience.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I thought it was, I was really happy with it. It didn't, you know, it didn't make the movie, making her the inventor. It didn't, you know, ruin the movie. I thought it was a cute little scene with the donkey and the washing machine and, you know, teaching the little girl to read, and it sort of gave you a real feel of the village as well. You know, the loneliness, which is another thing that they use as a bond between her and the Beast, is that loneliness that she feels that I don't think you don't really there, but it's sort of glossed over a little bit in the original one as well. You don't really feel that sadness of Belle living in the village as much as you do in the later one.
Yeah.
Well, going back to Gaston, I feel like he was obnoxious in the original, and he was repulsive, whereas in this one I felt he was a lot more aggressive, lot more forceful, and a lot scarier to me. You know, I didn't like that. I didn't like that he was an overpowering man versus, you know, the other one where he just puts his feet up on the table, or, you know, I didn't like that. And I felt like, I don't know, he needed to be bulkier and, like, over the top, you know, because he was like that in the original.
I don't know. I have to disagree. I think it would be hard to make that in a live action film. So they made him so over the top, cartoonish. Even the way he pulled his faces sometimes was like, no one's got a face chiseled like that to that nth degree. And to get someone as bulky as that would be really hard, and it would just look out of place. And I think the only way you can make him pig-headed is to make him pig-headed. And it makes you automatically repulsed by him because he's like that. Whereas you can't, you know, in the cartoon you can see all the smelly, like, stink lines coming off the socks and stuff. You can't really show that in a film. And I think that little change to his personality is what helps replicate that.
Yeah, I don't know, I did not feel for any of, I'm going to say this, I didn't really feel any connection to any of the characters. And getting back to Belle, yes, I think Emma Watson she looked like Belle, but her singing was very auto-tuned, and I felt like she was just acting. I didn't feel like she was portraying Belle.
I can see that a bit. There were some scenes where I thought, oh, you know, again, the cartoons can show so much more expression than what, you know, actors and actresses do without having to, like, look out of place. But maybe she was nervous for the singing because she is an actress, not a singer. Yeah, I agree. She did fall flat sometimes, but I think she did it well. I don't know if you could find someone else to portray that role.
I think she did it well as well, and it's very hard for someone to portray a Disney princess, especially one like Belle that people hold so personally, because she is someone that people, like I said, people really relate to her on so many different ways. So she's very personal to a lot of people. It's very hard. And look, just like you said, not Mrs. Potts, I recall seeing it with another friend of mine at the movies, and the first thing he said to me at the end of the movie, I said, what did you think? And he said, well, she's not Paige O'Hara, but it was okay. So, yeah. She'll never be Paige O'Hara. Like, you know, that voice and everything. Like, she was so expressive, the singing, everything about it was just, it was beautiful. And that's what I feel like with the soundtrack. I love all the songs, the original, and the new soundtrack. Love it. I listen to it to bits. But I do think, for the big numbers, be our guest, I think the original is stronger. And better. You know, all of them, the songs in the original are better. The one thing I will say though that saves the soundtrack, the Gaston in the live is great, but Evermore, adding that song, that has very, very quickly become my all-time favorite Disney song.
I can hear you tearing up now.
I cry. I hear that. I'll be driving in my car. That song will come on and I cry. My 3 sings that song in a big, deep opera voice because that's what I do when I'm driving the car. Like, that song is like it. I just think everything about that song absolutely is what changed everything, like the live action. That's what I can't even. It's just, it's so good.
A lot of people I've spoken to said the same thing about that song. I mean, it wasn't, you know, the best song for me, but I know how popular it is and how much, like, a lot of the audience took to that song. My biggest thing, as we were talking earlier, I really loved the instrumental even as a kid of the intro, and I still listen to it. And when I watched the film, I think the reason I took to it so much is because the instrumental, like the soundtrack, the orchestra, it all sounded similar. And I Googled it straight after I walked out, and it was the exact same guy they got to bring back, which is why those new songs fit so well. Alan Menken, yes, that's right, yeah. And it's the reason why it worked really, really well is because, you know, it had the same feel, and, like, it just shows you how much a soundtrack can make or break a film. And I think the soundtrack really, really supported this film to make it work so well as a live action. And I mean, I loved it as in the original. But back to soundtrack though, like you were saying before, Amber, it's really hard to recreate a Disney princess or a Disney character in live action because they're just so over the top, cartoonishly drawn. Their expressions are so, you know, over the top. Even the singing, like a Disney princess, their voice is so different to what you would hear now for, like, singers. Even when you go back to, like, the original, like, Snow White Alice in Wonderland, like, the voices and the way they used to sing are so different through the years that it's just so hard to replicate in a live-action film, I feel.
Oh, a lot of the time, the actress doing the voice and the actress doing the singing were not the same person.
Correct, yeah.
So that's another factor, is that they often brought in, singers to do the singing.
Yeah.
And actors to do the voices. So you didn't ever find that the princess, that package wasn't in one person.
Yes,
you know what
correct.
I mean?
Yeah.
What I was going to say, just back on the soundtrack, I'm sure I've told Steph this before. So my first time when I went to see the movie at the cinemas, I was very apprehensive because I love the original so much. And a good friend of mine had said, we'll go and watch it, and beforehand suggested we go and have Mad Max for dinner. And afterwards, after dinner, I had my leftover quesadilla, and he said, oh, don't throw that away, and he wrapped it up for me and said, I'll put it away for you for later. And I forgot all about it. Then we went and watched the movie, and it was so beautiful. And the ending, without getting into, I'm sure everybody's seen the ending, but without getting into spoilers, the ending of this was actually even that little bit more moving than the one in the original, because you see, the impact of the curse, and you see so much more of everything happening, and it gets you. So I was quite emotional, and then the end credits start, and the first thing you hear is Celine Dion's voice singing How Can a Moment Last Forever, and Celine Dion, she sang Beauty and the Beast in the original, the radio version, and then her husband had passed away, and she'd said, she sang for her husband, and she couldn't see herself ever singing again. And this was the first thing I'd ever heard her sing since her husband died. And as soon as I heard her voice, it was just like all these emotions inside me. And I heard Celine Dion's voice, and I burst into tears in the cinemas. Like, I'm literally just sitting there crying my eyes out. And my friend beside me, who obviously had no idea how to deal with all my emotions, just said, would you like some quesadilla? Handed me this tissue wrapped quesadilla that had been in his pocket through the whole movie, and I was just
nah.
No. I just thought it was, the whole movie for me. I think I probably had been going through some emotional things at the time, and it just hit me in such a way that, I don't think I've ever really felt that moved at the cinemas before in my life. It was, very, very special for me, that first seeing of the live action movie.
Do you know what song I really liked off the new soundtrack, and I actually listened to it more, was Days in the Sun? And the song that the father sings, I know Belle sings it later, but I liked it when he sung it. I don't know, it just made me cry.
It was beautiful.
That's How Does a Moment Last Forever. Slow version, and then in the credits, Celine Dion sings a really beautiful version of that when the end credits come up. So that is great. It's a really nice
there
song.
There you go. I didn't even stay for the credits, so I had no idea. That's so funny. No, I really liked. I think the soundtrack made this.
Going back to characters. What do you think of the two beasts? I obviously loved the original, but I just felt like the CGI wasn't that great. If you go back to King Kong, and you see the CGI then, and that was 12 years earlier,
I have to agree with you on that. I found that the rest of him looked really good, but it was the face. But I think because they were trying to add the facial expressions, it didn't quite work for me. But I absolutely loved the costume design and everything. It just looked beautiful, and I think I found myself looking more at his jacket and his clothes more than I did his face. But I don't think the face CGI worked really well. But I liked the backstory of the new beast. However, in the original one, he was just so much more erratic and beast-like.
Yes.
That I feel that wasn't brought across, but that was the whole reason he was cursed, was because he was acting like that.
But then you know why he acted like that.
Correct, yeah. In the original, again, I watched it as a kid, so I don't feel like this would have come across watching it as a kid, but I just don't see what she saw in him.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you see the side, like the cute things that they added in the remake, it came across and you can see why she did start to fall for him. But
Yes.
I didn't really see any of that in the original. So I feel like it's a bit of a mixture for me on points of what I did like in the original and what I liked in the remake.
Yeah, I felt very much like that too. I didn't see the flaws in their relationship in the original until I saw the newer version and started to think, oh, why didn't I feel that? Like, why didn't I notice that last time? Or where was that? I definitely think there's little bits in the cartoon. They sing the Something Bear song.
Yeah,
You know, when you sort of see they get the library and they have, mainly it's when it all sort of changes when she tries to leave and he saves her. And I have to say, so I love that they took a couple of the really key moments of the film, which is her entering the castle, you know, coming into the castle and the whispers of, it's a girl, oh, look, she's here.
Yeah.
Coming to rescue her from the wolves. And they kept those scenes like scene for scene perfect. Even just him looking at her over his shoulder before his eyes roll back and he falls, like her going to get on the horse and then stopping and looking back, should I help him? Like everything about that, I love that they kept that exactly the same because, like you said, they listened to the fans. They really thought about the parts that were so, like, that really got to us. And they made sure that they preserved those bits really carefully.
Yeah, and the parts that, you know, they built on just was done right. Even when the dad goes in, and it was so cute that he thought of his daughter, and he's like, I'm going to pick this rose for you, you know, and they showed that. Whereas in the original, they just alluded to that he was trespassing. But I think it was a really good addition because it's the symbolism of the rose and how he overreacted, but he had a reason to overreact because, you know, the rose is what's his curse and what he has to try and protect. And I think it was really cute. But I also think it was really cute that the dad's like, I'm going to get my daughter a rose while I'm out today. And I'm like, I really loved the dad in the remake. He was just so sweet and genuine, and I think he played that really well.
Yeah. Oh, another really clever thing they did was the winter all year round at the castle. So there's no real, you can't sense the passage of time. I thought that was very clever too. Yeah, because in the first one, it sort of seems like she's there for summer, winter, but there doesn't seem to be much time passing in the village, but a whole season has passed at the castle.
Yeah.
So, no, that was, they got rid of a lot of those little continuity issues that you sort of go, well, why doesn't anybody remember their prince? Like, okay, well, let's add one line and clear that whole thing up.
I think that was, I was trying to think of that myself because I was just like, I'm sure that they mentioned something how like, it's like where the curse is, that little village has been frozen and preserved. So even the villagers were stuck in the curse. They didn't remember them. They didn't know, like in the back of the head, like the castle was just like a black spot. And I just thought that makes so much more sense to add that in, you know, as opposed to just being like, oh, he's only got till his 21st. And I'm like, what? Like, he already looks like he's 50 and this makes no sense to me. The curse was definitely upgraded and I thought it was done well. And it didn't shift the actual story of the original, I feel, too much.
Now, going to songs.
Steph has a structure today she wishes to keep, when any other time we never keep the structure.
No, I wanted to do my thoughts before I forget them. Okay, I would like to know what you both think of the Beauty and the Beast song by Emma Thompson and
Angela Lansbury.
Thank you.
I don't think you could ever replicate the original.
No.
I think it was a good try, but I don't think you could.
No, I was just like, it's not the same song. No.
I mean, I know Emma Thompson. I love Emma Thompson. I really love her. And I hate to say this because it sounds so bad, but she's just not at the older peak age yet to have that like raspy, almost like matriarchal type in her voice, you know? You can
I would take that as a compliment, telling her you're not that old yet.
Yeah. I mean, I know.
She's a grandmotherly type.
That's right. Like, Mrs. Potts really was an older, like, grandma almost, you know? Yeah. Even when she turned back into human, she looked like an old maid, which she had the silver hair and everything. Emma Thompson's, like, gorgeous still.
I know. And I didn't like the new version of Chip either. Nah.
The one thing that really bugged me about the new Beauty and the Beast song was just that she didn't say at the end of the song, "Off to the cupboard with you now, Chip." And I was like, why? Why didn't she say that? Like, just those little, like, that really bugged me for some reason. I don't know, that really bugged me for some reason.
I really liked the addition, though, of, you had the piano.
Mm-hmm.
Which was that Stanley?
And the feather duster. Yes, it was Stanley Tucci.
Yeah,
and the feather duster.
And, I really liked the addition of the cupboard and the piano, and it showed. I think they were able, by just adding the additional songs in there, the ones that I really liked, like Out in the Sun, it really showed you everyone was affected by the curse, not just him, and that like everyone needed him to like fix it because he got them all in the trouble. You know, you just really felt like, oh my God, not just him who needs to not be a beast anymore. Everyone needs to get this curse lifted.
I'm going to nerd right out right now and just say, in the original cartoon, there is an extended version. So there's two versions of the original, and one has an additional song in it, and the song is called When We're Human Again. So that song is very much about all of the characters singing a song about, you know, what we're going to do when we're human again. We can't wait to be human again, and we'll be able to hold hands and kiss and hug each other and dance around and do all these wonderful things together when we're human again.
Sense.
And they're like getting the house ready. Yeah, so it's actually a really lovely song, and you do see Madame de Garderobe. She is in the cartoon a little bit. She dresses Belle, but she's obviously got a very American. Moth in my closet. You see her quite a lot in the song, and Plumette, the little. But she looks like in the original they did her more like a feather duster. She looks like a bit of a French maid sort of look in the original, but they've made her look like a dove in the.
I think she looks beautiful.
Later one.
I have to say, I think the set, the costume design, everything looked absolutely how it should in like French aristocrat society. Mm-hmm. You know, even the way, I know you didn't like Mrs. Potts, but even Mr. Cogsworth, they looked like actual items you'd find in some like aristocrat's house. Like it fit with everything how it should have been.
Yes.
You can't go into that detail in a cartoon though. But back to what you were saying about the extra song, it makes sense because I was reading up on a thing how when they brought Alan Menken on, he said he was glad to come back because it gave him the chance to do additional things that he didn't have the chance to do in the original. And it makes sense because if that song was similar, he would still have all his notes, and he was the one that wrote it. He can morph it into something better, and it works well.
Yes. Days in the Sun has that very much same vibe of them sort of still thinking about what's going to happen and how they're going to break the curse. But so you could definitely find When We're Human Again, probably on YouTube or something like that.
The animation. It.
Yeah, so it's the same, but it looks a little bit grainier. But it's definitely worth it if you get the DVD version. It's definitely in there.
I'm going to look for it after this.
Do you have anything else that you want to say about this movie before we move on?
No, not really. I think the only other thing I think they've done, obviously, we all sort of see the contrast with Gaston and the Beast, and the good-looking guy who's awful on the inside, and the ugly guy who's lovely on the inside, and that real beauty or ugliness lies within. And there's been a lot of talk with Gaston lately about, how he actually is one of the more terrifying sort of villains in Disney movies, because he's that bully that everybody loves and supports. And, even the whole town supports him in, having a man put in the loony bin and forcing a woman into a marriage that she doesn't want to be a part of. Attempted murder, people just love and support everything he does. I think one of the things I liked that they did in the movie was they actually made, like, the villagers, when they were being really horrible, they sort of really emphasized, that one woman, the one that's with Cogsworth, her, like, I don't know, you sort of really hate her. Like, she's really awful. I kind of
her stupid hat. Oh my God, her hat was annoying me so much. I was like, what was with the top of her hat?
Yeah.
And then I loved when he's like, please let me go back to a clock. Please let me go back to a clock.
One of my favourite lines in the whole movie is when Belle asks the Beast right at the end, have you ever thought about growing a beard? And then he growls at her. And I was just like, oh my goodness.
How many movie reels do you give the original 1991 and Amber?
I will have to give it. I think I'm going to go a 4.5. I know it's not my favorite Disney. My favorite Disney was Peter Pan and then Alice in Wonderland. But I do like Beauty and the Beast. It's something I would rewatch. I like the soundtrack. And I actually think it was really good for a lot of young girls to watch. You know, back in the early 90s, it made you, not ashamed to want to learn things and be different from everyone else. And I really like that. And it also taught kids to love the person within, which I feel like wasn't a strong message in a lot of stuff, of Disney prior to that. So I think this is a really good Disney story and I think it deserves the 4.5.
Look, I can't fault it. I know I've tried to fault it once today. But it's all by comparison. Yeah, if I have to be honest with myself, I can't really fault this movie at all. If I didn't give it a 4.5, I'd have to give it a 5. I absolutely I can't fault it at all.
I was thinking to myself, I bet you're going to go like a 4.9. I'm going to pretty much agree with everyone and give this one a 4.5. Same reasons. The songs, everything just brings me just a happiness. And I was watching this movie and Mum had never seen any of these movies. She'd never seen Beauty and the Beast.
I can't believe she hasn't seen it.
And then she was like, oh, this is so violent. Oh, this is disgusting. Oh, this is scary. I'm like, really, Mum? Okay, you weirdo. And so, but she loved it. Definitely 4.5 for me. The remake, I'm going to give this one a 3.
Oh.
Because, I don't know, maybe it's nostalgia reasons, but I really liked the original, and this one, I don't know, I just feel like there wasn't enough, spark, and Mrs. Potts, I think she ruined it, and the Beast, I don't know, his face was a bit annoying, and I didn't like Gaston, he was just, like what Amber was saying before, he was like a true villain, and he just grossed me out. Yeah, definitely 3.
Okay, I'm gonna go 4.2, maybe 4.3. I think this is probably one of the best live action, cartoon films you're gonna get. And that's from a lot of anime, everything, comics. I think this was done well, and the changes that they made, most of them, about 95% of the changes they made worked for the film, and a few didn't. But you got to expect some things aren't going to transfer in live action. So I actually think, I'm not saying it's a film that I'm going to go and watch 1,000 times over, but I think it deserves a higher ranking because I think it was done right, and it's something we still can't see a lot of people recreate, a live action film.
What about you, Amber?
I think they did it so well. I will watch this film 1,000 times.
I can appreciate the film.
I bought it the day it came out. I give it a 6. I absolutely love it.
Wow.
It's easily one of my favorite films that I have ever seen. And I loved the cartoon, but I rate the live action even higher. I absolutely loved it. Yeah. Absolutely. I've never seen a movie
out of the park.
It's easily one of my top films I've ever seen.
That's awesome. Again, now the big question. I'm actually going to see who's going to be closer out of the both of you.
Oh.
So what do you think the 1991 got on Rotten Tomatoes?
Okay, let's have a think.
I'm going to say 92.
Amber's close.
Oh. Okay. I feel like I want to go 88.
Amber was the closest at 92%. So you were so close, Amber.
What was it?
No, she said
94.
Oh, 94. Oh. I thought you were saying she was close at 92. I'm like, she said 92. She got it.
No, it was 94.
Okay.
Okay, and what do you think 2017 got? You're going to say 100 million%.
I'm going to go 89.
Realistically, I would probably say 82.
Okay, what are you going to say, Ange?
I said 89.
Ange is closer at 71%.
Wow, I didn't expect it to get that low. I thought it would have got a little bit more.
I've only known that because I'm in a lot of Disney groups that I have seen the hatred. There are, those Disney purists, they can't handle any live actions.
Yeah.
No one will ever like the cartoon.
When I was looking at Beauty and the Beast on IMDb, I found that there's a TV series from 1987 through to 1990, Beauty and the Beast, and it actually stars Ron Perlman and Linda Hamilton.
Yeah, it looks so weird.
Yeah, the preview looked great.
I was just like, what? And there's like 3 of them, and you can get them for $14.99.
What a bargain!
I know.
So it's on cassette tape.
Okay, so shall we move on to
Nerdazons Nerdy Notables?
So I know at the time of recording this is going to make no sense by the time you all listen to it, but I've spent the weekend pretty much watching all of the new game trailers that are going to be released for 2022, and there's some pretty good games that are coming out that I'm pretty eager to play. Even Spider-Man 2 game trailer looked epic. The Knights of the Republic was getting redone, and that looks really, really good. So for any gamers out there's some pretty good games coming out on the PS5. And then I just started a new series. It's set in Melbourne. It's an Aussie series, and it has Lucy Lawless as the main actor. It's 40 to 45-minute episodes. It's called My Life is Murder, and it's about she's an ex-cop who she just gets given like a case usually at the beginning of it, and she just solves the case. So it's not really gory, you don't really see anything, it's just her solving it, and it's just really lighthearted and fun sort of crime comedy show with Lucy Lawless that, she's gorgeous, so that's a good reason to go and watch it. I love her.
What about, did you finish watching The Watch?
No.
No, you need to go back and watch it.
I know, I have 2 episodes to go. I still haven't even watched Loki yet either. I'm so behind on things. It's really bad.
I haven't watched Loki yet either. Sorry, Amber.
I have watched Loki, and I actually really enjoyed it. So
I can't get past the first episode.
I was like that with the Winter Soldier. I can't think of the full Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I really liked that. That one, it was hard at first because, they introduced a character, but the way he's introduced makes you really hate him. But that's the point, because then it makes the end so much better. It's such a good ending. You gotta watch it.
I haven't seen that either.
Oh my God.
I did end up watching it, but yeah, no, it is good.
I started watching Killing Eve. That show's awesome. Oh my gosh.
That's Sandra Oh, right?
Yeah. And it's so good. It's so good. Also, did you hear, Amber, I can actually talk to somebody about this, that RuPaul is got season 2 of UK. Season 3.
Down Under. Sorry, Down Under's coming back too. They've announced
and Down Under as well.
Yeah, yes. I saw that yesterday. They'd made the announcement for Down Under and season 3, but they've said this will be the last season of RuPaul UK because the contract with the BBC is going to end after this season.
Aww.
So unless they get a new contract with I imagine someone else will pick it up. Like, it's such a successful show that you would imagine another station would want to, have it. But I don't know what TV is like over in the UK, so I don't know what it's like to go elsewhere to the BBC.
And what did you think about Sonique winning? I was so happy that Sonique won.
Spoiler for people who haven't seen it.
Oh my gosh. I don't care. I was just so happy.
Look, Kylie Sonique winning was lovely, but I feel like anything that happened at the end of that season has just been overshadowed by Silky Nutmeg Ganache as just being, just the most iconic queen of the season. But it can't be topped. It just can't. It can never be topped.
I know. I just love how she was dancing and then she had in her top a glass with ice in it, and then she's dancing, and then in the other bra had gin and tonic.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. She did such a great job.
Yeah.
I honestly would be happy to watch a whole season of episodes of just lip sync battles. Like, give me the lip sync only episodes, please, because that was fantastic. I've never seen a better episode in my life.
I was glad that was the game within a game.
Yeah, very good.
So next fortnight is my choice, and I'm still riding the horror high. So I've chosen to do Night of the Living Dead 1968 versus the 1990 remake.
Oh, sick. I can't wait. I literally just found out what it was. That's going to be sick. Except all I can think of now is I'm going to walk in and go like Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, yeah. I think they're very different though, so we'll see.
Yes, well, if you want to send us an email, we have had some choices. So somebody has emailed us in and said that we should do Hunger Games, which Amber would love to be on that one, I'm sure.
It's not really my cup of tea.
No, but okay, I have an Amber story to tell you. So we went and saw the very last Hunger Games together, and she was with her boyfriend, and he's just sitting there, arms folded. Me and Amber are like snuggled in, just crying in each other's arms. Just going, really? Ooh, maybe it was the first one.
It was one of them. I remember being very emotional.
It was the cutest thing ever. We're just like bawling our eyes out. Yep.
That's funny. I think I've seen about 20 minutes of the first one. It was never really something that fancied my interest.
Love the Hunger Games.
I really enjoyed the Hunger Games. I have to say, of the books, I feel like it was one of the most like really satisfying endings. Like, you know, you get those endings that are just like everything feels complete and really like, oh, that just feels so good. I felt like that was a very satisfying ending for me when I read the Hunger Games.
Yeah. So, if you want to send us an email with some choices at nerdazons@outlook.com, you can listen to us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts. And you can follow us, Nerdazons, on Facebook and Instagram.
And we also have merch done by the amazing Craftcaster, so you can find that on Teespring. Do show some support for them. Until then,
stay nerdy. That was a good episode.
That was a good episode. I don't think I'm
going to have to edit much.
Yeah, I think it worked really well. I think it was a good one. Oh, hang on, let me stop.
I love that you know so much about all these